Hello, community. On my place day, and my deep appreciation to our coordinator of the month for keeping up to the task, but most especially to the warriors and warrioresses in here who on a daily basis remind us of our commitment to our homeland, and to all the patriots who make sure they remain vanguards against distortionists, revisionists, and abusers of our right to exist in the country of our birth. The struggle for liberation is both a psychological and physical. Mental liberation is the first stage in any struggle by people to be free. A system of entrapment is designed to manipulate the mind, to alter your identity, and to make you dependent on a system of deprivation and curtailment, in the hope that your allegiance to that system will be the foundation of its sustainability. Education, information constantly informs a people of who they are, why they exist, and why they should settle for nothing short of total freedom. Our struggle for independence is not simply about the existence of a state. It's to create the environment within that state within which people can be free to pursue social, economic, and political activities for their happiness, the happiness of their friends, their families, and their communities. That's why we fight. And I'll ask each and every one of you to remind yourself daily why you fight. In the last weeks, I would begin with the submission made by the coordinator of the month. We have a fundraiser on the 28th of January. I know most of you have gone through a lot of financial transactions in the month of December. And I know last year you did your utmost best to make sure that the defenders of our homeland and our freedom remain resource, and that we keep Cameroon in check, and we continuously let the international community understand we will not settle for anything short of full independence. Your contributions and your commitment have continuously given hope to our prisoners of war and our people. And I would enjoin each and every one of you to continue in the same spirit in 2023. For all those who have not, for whatever reason, been committed, be reminded that you are not a patriot, you are not a nationalist, you don't believe in Ambazonia if you do not commit to buy bullets, to buy guns, to defend our freedom. You don't believe in Ambazonia if you always try and attempt to provide excuses for lack of commitment. The reason why the modern nation state has structured itself to make sure that people pay taxes as a matter of commitment, and that there are repercussions if they don't, is because left to the goodwill of people, they will provide constant excuses why they don't pay taxes. And for the welfare states, hospitals will not exist. Those who are crippled for whatever reason, will not have access to medical support, to unemployment support, to education. Most of us have also escaped our country and have sought to study in different countries. We have enrolled in universities where we don't pay tuition fees. It is based on the system of those countries. We fish around such universities. It is because some people have committed to paying taxes, to ensuring that such services are provided. And each time you step into an amphitheater in a country where you don't pay fees, or even where you pay fees, where there are student loans, know that some people continuously make that commitment. If they will act like you will not have an opportunity. Your children will not. Anger does not free a people. Commitment does. And it's not how many times you shout about Ambazonia that makes you a patriot. And for all of you who believe in bandwagonism, who believe that some will toil and sweat, and at the last moment, you will jump onto the train and put $10,000 and shout and put your face out there so we can believe that you were with us from the beginning. This generation is the never again generation. We shall never be fooled. For all of you who refuse to commit to our homeland, you will be held accountable for the blood spilled because of the lack of bullets. For the parents who are mourning because you failed to provide. You can provide whatever excuse you want on earth, whether you like A, hate A, cocky not done, whatsoever. The duty by every Ambazonian to stand up for the motherland is an obligation. And I'll ask each and every one of us to continuously sacrifice. I really thank those who on a daily basis remind us of our $10 per week contribution. It's so patriotic. Just forwarding that message each time, adding your name in that list. You don't know what you are doing. You are keeping families alive. You are keeping soldiers alive. You are giving hope. You think you've just added your name on a list. You think you've just provided $10. When they will map out from the moment you wrote that name and put that money to when it is used and what it did, you will know you have contributed to the emancipation of a people entrapped for 61 years. Meme is the place where I recruited General Ivo from. From Meme, took him over to Bamenda. He began his activities there. Then went and bailed Batibo and told me he was going back to bail Meme. From Meme, I sent him into Boya to go look for a Kema. He was there for 4 days. And called me one morning and said, Pa, I just see a couple of activities in Meme. It looks like they don't believe that we are in a struggle. He went back inside and undertook a major operation where he was wounded. He defended it from his base in Mato, from his base in Teke. He got people to rise up who believed in him. He mobilized thousands. Our notorious K-Town is a town of warriors and heroes and daredevils who've done stuff. You know them. It is being defended again by Sokadev, by ADF, and by other forces. That is where he fell. We don't know where his body is, but we will find his body because we leave no one behind. And on Saturday the 28th, we will mobilize for Meme. For all of you people who committed to Operation AK, you have seen the result. The defenders have risen. Let's expand it. Let us bring in more materials, because that's an intersection that can protect our capital. We will also mobilize for Fako. Fako is critical, very critical. We cannot allow morons to be running around, enablers to be parading the streets. We must also mobilize for Bamenda. I told you people, the last battle for our liberation will not be fought in Boya. It will be in Bamenda. Unless you forget, that is where you have the strongest urban warriors of our time. Bamenda is the biggest and most populated city in Ambazonia. And for these daredevils who have fought in that city, despite the amount of enablers, despite the amount of security agents, despite the amount of spies, these warriors have attacked in the four corners of Bamenda on a daily basis. And if there is any medal of honor that we will ever offer, we will offer it to the children who have defended and fallen in Bamenda. We will have to mobilize for Bamenda also. I want to thank those who have committed, the 3 persons who have committed $5,000 for Meme. That is the foundation. The other day I had a meeting with the heads of missions of the 3 Scandinavian countries, Norway, Finland, and Sweden. We could not get our most able comrade Alain from Denmark. We spoke well, we strategized, we planned on how we should be able to mobilize the 30,000 budget that is required by defense for these 3 places on the 28th. And I ask each and every one of you to tap into your networks and mobilize, so that before we get into that day, we should at least have covered 75% of what we intend to raise. There was also discussion about the most effective tool of our liberation. All the tools are important, but I know you emphasize on economic sabotage, which is critical. As I have said, occupation is predicated on economic exploitation. Ambazonia provides 60% of the GDP of the state of Cameroon. More than that 60% now is used in severing interest and debt that the nation has accrued through looting. And if we continue to impose a higher cost on Cameroon, it will be impossible for them to continuously prosecute the war. Now they lack monies to pay soldiers. They don't even have monies for development. They continuously borrow. And their collaterals, which has been economic activities, has been damaged. And so their credit rating in terms of their borrowing ability has also been affected. They usually get loans now from World Bank, IMF. And the reason is this. These Bretton Woods institutions understand that without this support, all the monies that Cameroon owes, whether bilateral or multilateral institution, will be lost if the state collapses. So what they are doing is providing monies for life support to keep Cameroon afloat, with the hope that there will be the creation of an environment within which economic activities will take root, confidence will be reinstilled, create the environment for investment and for the generation of monies that it can use to pay back its debt. It will take 100 years, it will never finish that debt. And we should, during this resistance, increase the debt on Cameroon. So Cameroonians must know there is a price you pay for occupying Ambazonia. We must also know that La République will be leaving Ambazonia, not only, it will be leaving us with liabilities. It has borrowed money using the name of institutions within Ambazonia. And we will be held liable to those loans. That is why there will be accountability for us to understand how much you've borrowed in our name before we take over our country, realizing that we owe $3 trillion and that we will not be able to raise that money for the next 200 years. And this is what usually happens in the last days of occupation regimes. They loot, they make sure they make you more indebted. So economic sabotage is critical. We also talked about governance structure. You see, within the Ambazonian Governing Council, we have flirted about the form of state, the kind of state that Ambazonia would be. We have mainly based our articulations on what it was, the parliamentary system of governance, which is strange to the socio-economic and political reality of our environment. Forms of state are determined by the reality of the context within which those forms take root. In the United States, it was the conglomeration of different nations coming together to form the United States. So they federated. In Germany, it's the same. You have places with very strong identity distinct from each other. So they federated to make sure. In the United Kingdom, you have Wales, Northern Ireland, Scotland. Almost different nations came together to form the United Kingdom. Our own reality is going to determine the kind of state. In Iran, they realized also that the Western form of state can easily be overthrown. They set up a system, a mix between the Western form of state through parliamentary kind of system, but with a kind of a system where the Ayatollah holds sway, almost like the executive branch. In the United Kingdom, you have the parliamentary system, but it's also almost like a presidential system where the king, and for the moment, is like the head of state. So the prime minister takes his cue from the king. So those are what we call the stabilizing institution of the state of the United Kingdom. So what would Ambazonia be? And these forms of state should also enhance our economic activities. We should not borrow and pace. That is why there are failed states, pariah states. Things don't work. We will create what is indigenous and is going to protect our economic activities, is going to empower our people, and is going to bring governance right to the doorsteps of the people. What will be the heads? What will be the role of the quarter heads, of the chiefs, of all the units that exist within Amazonia? We will look at this. What language would Ambazonia adopt? I have spoken about this. Amazonia is made up of 4 big tribes. How do we make sure that we adopt a language that is going to put Ambazonia as an independent state, free from English that is almost alien to our own reality? Language is used as a medium through which information is not only circulated, but through which people get connected. So sometimes if you speak your own language, you feel really connected. I can get up and I speak Mankon, Nebene, Abene, Nisaaki. People, you feel some level of connection. I have my chief of staff who is from Lebialem. Each time he speaks the language, it's so sweet, and you feel really connected. Sometimes he's speaking with the vice president, and I feel like they are really brothers, and I really wish I could be, from that same group. We must create that spirit of Ambazonia that makes us really feel Ambazonia. Not like, I use an English word and you first have to Google translate into what you don't know. Maybe it conveys a different meaning. Why the English person has already mapped it out immediately, because it's wired in their own being. So Ambazonia will be truly independent in terms of our economy, in terms of our social system, and in terms of our political structures. Well, they talk about also the big 4. Yeah, we're working very hard. We're working. I know a comrade in here talked about unity. Unity has been an illusion in our struggle, because it's been conceptualized and marketed publicly in one way and practiced in a different way. So we are working together. We are talking to different leaders in consultation. We want to create a system where movements exist. Take note, Ambazonia will not be governed by one political party. It will not be governed by a tribe. It will be a plural system. And so each time we are talking about uniformity, we are talking about a kind of single kind of structure, we must be aware that people must create movements now that will take root in the new nation. Don't think that you will just jump into Ambazonia, that's where you now create a particular political formation, and that becomes the basis upon which the government is going to, people will be elected. We must begin now. The Ambazonian Governing Council has been set up as a liberation movement, but its practices are also democratic. Its practices and its charter are an embodiment of the vision of the kind of system that we want to live in. And it will be very easy to transplant the Ambazonian Governing Council as a political party in a free Ambazonia, in the same way the ANC was translated into a political party, or even the Eritrean liberation movement. And so it is very dangerous for us at this stage to build small groups, issue-based groups, power-based groups, and we fail to strengthen those groups, and we use them for nefarious ends or for whatever reason. And then when we get into Ambazonia, we begin the same confusion. So there are different groups that are trying to work together. I don't want to say much about it, but I can assure you people that in the coming days, you will be hearing from these leaders talk about, an upcoming conference that will bring Ambazonians together for us to strategize and to see how we can end the reign of terror in our homeland. And we also talk about deployment of POPs on the ground, and there was a couple of ideas which I don't want to expatiate on in here. So far, it has been a good week of discussion, and as I said, I thank the moderator of the month, Mr. Moderator, your place day. I wish everyone a wonderful day. Look forward to continuous discussions in good spirit. We will disagree, we will agree, we will fight, there will be insult. But at the end of the day, we are patriot volunteers for the liberation of our homeland, and we must stick together. God bless everyone.